Hey guys, so today I have for you a super cool video for the MLW 2020 season, but this time it's going to be on fantasy leaders. So this is a really cool concept. I did not come up with this idea. I will say that straight up. I did help with the process of it, but this was not me, so I have a lot of people to thank. So if you could just go thank them in the comments, or make sure that you go to the MLW Discord and thank them there, or follow them on their respective channels, make sure you thank them because they did such a great job on this. So first off, I have to thank Jdog on the MLW Discord. He is the one who set up the sheet for this and put in all the equations for it to work. Big thank you to him. This probably wouldn't have been as easy as a process if it were not for him. We also have Plate Redacted, aka XXDark46, who helped input all of the stats into the system. So he did a ton of work on that, so make sure you thank him. And then you also have Mr. Akinola, AJ Eats a Lot, Banner, and Janana16, who all helped out with the idea, tweaking, and the process of the whole thing, getting at the point system and things like that. So thank you for their help. All of those guys' links will be in the description. They'll be first, so make sure that you follow them and thank them. And so today I'm going to be showing you the top 10 for the batting and pitching for this year for MLW Fantasy. Before we get into that though, I kind of want to put a disclaimer and explanation of the fantasy system and what it is showing. So first off, the fantasy system is really showing quote-unquote important stats, and what I mean by that is really production. Fantasy really values and focuses on the tangible production of a player. So if you are playing well and you have lots of production, it'll show. You will be rewarded for that. If you're playing well but aren't getting a ton of home runs, a lot of hits, or you're striking out a lot, you're not going to be rewarded as much. So I think you'll see what I mean when we go look at the top 10 list for both. You're going to see some notable snubs and things like that. Also, you're going to see that fantasy does not show the quality of a season. I like to think of guys like Trent Richardson and Eddie Lacy, who are great pickups in fantasy football. They'll have 40 yards and 2 touchdowns, so they won't be amazing players, but they'll punch in a touchdown, and that gives you a lot of points. So keep that in mind. I'm not comparing any of the MLW players to Eddie Lacy or Trent Richardson. This is just the algorithm that we worked with, and not our actual personal opinions on where we think MLW players are ranked. We also worked with batting players and pitching players as two separate things. So if you were to do a fantasy draft, Kyle Schultz the pitcher and Kyle Schultz the batter would be two separate picks, if that makes sense. Otherwise, in reality, if you just draft a one-for-one basis on everything, there's just going to be guys who are too OP, and it would just really throw off the system in like a competitive league format. So we had to do that in order to make sure that it works well. Also, fantasy is just naturally unforgiving for bad games, especially in a limited season like the MLW. So guys with high ERAs and low strikeouts are going to be hurt by this point system. And in batting, guys with low RBIs and production and a high strikeout rate are going to be hurt as well. Also, disclaimer, this is only for the regular season and not postseason. So all the points that you are seeing are from the regular season. So first, let's get into the batting point system that we worked in for our top 10 in batting. You're going to notice from the traditional fantasy baseball system, we have tweaked some numbers. So total bases are worth 2 points, RBIs are worth 2 points, runs scored are worth 2 points, while walks are 1 point and strikeouts are -1 point. The point of this is to reward getting on base and being able to score. And the reason why is that good pitching itself is heavily rewarded in the fantasy system, so we also have to reward the production of the batters in a higher tier. So let's go ahead and jump into number 10, who was a big surprise in my eyes, and that's Jonah Heath with 94 points. This comes from his absolutely insane numbers from his 7 games, and he only had 9 strikeouts. So he has a ton of points from total bases, which he had 19. He has points from his runs and his RBIs as well, without a ton of setbacks from his strikeouts. So he really benefits from the point system, and he got himself into the number 10 spot. At number 9, we have Dan Schultz, which may be a surprise for some of you guys. However, 2/3 of his hits were home runs this year. So even though he struggled a little bit, he was still able to get on base fairly often. However, he did strike out a good amount, which basically cancels out the walks that he earns. So that's why he is in 9th place. At number 8 is Andy Durand, which I'm not too surprised that he made the top 10. He was pretty dominant at the plate all year for the Cobras. He had 5 home runs and 16 RBIs. And he also led the league with doubles. He only had 2, but still, we're not going to say anything. So because of that, he easily has enough stats to get 99 points this year. Number 7 is going to be a surprise for a lot of people because it's actually Tommy Coughlin. I think that this actually goes to show the quality player that Tommy is because he only had 1 home run this year. So the bulk of his stats are coming from his runs and his singles that he got. So you don't have to be hitting it out of the park in every game to make the top 10. You just have to be a really good, consistent hitter, and that is definitely Tommy Coughlin. Number 6 is Ben Wilson with 111 points. Ben Wilson is similar to Dan Schultz in the fact that he didn't have an amazing season in terms of average, but he was super solid in getting on base and getting RBIs. However, I think it's no surprise that another Diamondback ends up on this list, since they were cracked on offense this season. Number 5 is Jason Chadwick, who had an amazing season this year in all categories. He had 121 points this season, and it's no surprise why. He was getting on base a lot during the season, and I think if he gets a lot more run support from the other guys on the Magic, he gets more points and ends up higher on the list. At number 4 is Jimmy Norp with 128 points. Jimmy also had a standout year as a rookie from the plate. He was super consistent, and any pitcher was not looking forward to have to go up against him. I'm looking forward to see what happens when Jimmy gets a full season with the new and improved Diamondback squad. Number 3, we have Ryan Cratch with 134 points, and it's no surprise why he is here. He had another great year from the plate and was instrumental in the Preds winning this season. However, he was not enough to be our top 2 guys, who I am sure you guys have already guessed. Number 2 is Nick Saylor with 143 points. He was the best rookie this year in terms of fantasy points, and he was Silver Slugger as well. Saylor was clutch in a ton of games this year and was a hitting machine, and for a rookie to be up here above Ryan Cratch is just amazing to see. And lastly, of course, is Kyle Schultz with 148 fantasy points. So if you ever needed more evidence of why Kyle is the GOAT, here it is. He had another amazing season, and it's crazy how much firepower the Wildcats have, and yet they just weren't able to get it done in the playoffs, which is pretty unfortunate. So that's your top 10 list in terms of batting. So now, if you want to take a quick look at the standings, we are going to move on to the pitching side of things. So for pitching metrics and the fantasy point system, here is what we used. So inning pitched is 3 points. Wins are 5 points. Losses are negative 5 points. Saves are 5 points. Earned runs are negative 1.5 points. Hits allowed is negative 1 point. Strikeouts are 1 point. And walks are negative 1 point. You'll notice we did have to nerf pitchers a little bit because they were able to score points so easily. So we had to bump up the earned runs for negative 1 points in order to emphasize the importance of sitting batters down. So let's go ahead and jump into the top 10 list for pitchers. At number 10, we have Tommy Coughlin with 42.5 points. Tommy struggled a little bit this year with the Mallards, but he was able to find himself on this list. Even though he did struggle this year, you will see that he's not far away from our top starting pitchers this season. At number 9, we have Clayton Price with 45.5 points. And it's great to see Clayton on this list even though he didn't get to play a lot in 2020. I mean, he probably jumps up a few spots if he plays a full season. But in 9th place is just really respectable for Clayton this year. At number 8, we have Trevor Bonham with 58.6 points. So the Mallards are one of 2 teams with both their pitchers in the top 2. And yet somehow they couldn't pull it together and get into the playoffs. He had a solid season with his numbers. He just wasn't sitting batters down as often as some of the other guys on his list, and that is why he is at number 8. Number 7 is Jimmy Norp with 63.5 points. So Trevor Bonham and Jimmy Norp are actually really close in terms of the quality of pitching they had this season. Jimmy was the ace all season for the Diamondbacks, and it took him a little bit to settle in, but when he did, he was amazing, so it's no surprise that he made the top 10. Number 6 is Brendan Jorgensen with 70.5 points. He did miss a series in the regular season, so keep that in mind. He was really great on the mound and was consistent in striking people down. He definitely cracks the top 5 if he plays the other series. Next at number 5 is Jason Chadwick with 74 points. Chadwick did lose a lot of points due to walks, but he still made the top 5 despite that fact. He was able to keep his ERA down, though, in a tough division with some of the best hitters in the league, so hats off to that. Number 4 is Chris Cheatham with 85.5 points. He's your best rookie in terms of fantasy for pitching. He was super consistent in getting wins and sitting batters down, and that showed during the postseason and regular season, so no surprises here. Number 3 is Dan Schultz with 103.5 points. Dan is for sure one of the best pitchers in the league, but he had to go through a ton of innings and strikeouts in order to put the Eagles into the playoffs. And you can just tell by his stats that he definitely earned the number 3 spot in this list. Now we're going to take a huge leap to number 2, and it's actually Kyle Schultz with 145.3 points. Kyle was a machine all year, and it's crazy to think that he only got second. However, there was just somebody who had more production this season, and I'm sure you've already guessed it. Number 1 is Ryan Cratch with a whopping 158.6 points. I mean, this is likely due to the fact that he had a record-breaking 90 strikeouts this season. He also had the most innings pitched, so he was bound to be the number 1 on this list. Take a look at your top 10 for pitching, guys. I'm also going to throw up the top 10 for batting right after this. Make sure you tell me down in the comments who do you think should have been on this list. Make sure you tell me who do you think should have been on here, who do you think is a notable snub. So that's it for our presentation of the MLW Fantasy standings in terms of players. And I also have a super fun announcements for you guys. This next 2021 season in the MLW Discord, we are going to be doing the 2021 MLW Fantasy League. It's going to be me, aka Nickens, AJ Yeats a Lot, Mr. Akinola, Jdog, XXDark46, and Banner. And we will all be doing the MLW 2021 Fantasy League. There's going to be a running spreadsheet throughout the season. If you want to play along with your friends and set up your own draft stuff, make sure you guys do that. I'm going to have the spreadsheet for this season. It's a copy, it's not the official one. I'll be making future videos on how we're doing the league, our drafts, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you check out the Discord and thank everybody for their contributions. If you would like to see anything else or have any questions, let me know down in the comments. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.